the very last match of the first season of Open Division 4, the EMEA region here in the playoffs. We've got Sheer Cold versus Not in Contenders, a grudge match, a rematch from earlier in today. I'm Possible. With me is Kenobi. We're going to be taking you through this final match of the playoffs, and I'm super excited to jump right in, Kenobi.
Very excited as well. I mean, if it's anything like the last series that we had, we're definitely in for a banger. That went all 5 maps to the last round specifically, and I hope we get sort of that same competitiveness from this series. We are going to have Sheer Cold having a 1-0 lead already, so maybe not a technical 7-game series, but we could have a 7-game series. You know, we could have some draws.
Well, because if we draw, we go immediately to a control map.
Yes.
But speaking of that 1 map lead, for anyone who is unfamiliar with the Open Division rulings, because we have a double elimination style bracket, what happens is rather than doing a bracket reset, where if Not in Contenders wanted to win the entire tournament, they would have to beat Sheer Cold in 2 best-of-5s. Instead, what we do is we do 1 best-of-7, but Sheer Cold, having been undefeated thus far in the playoffs, will start with 1 map already on the board. We're still going to start on Control, though, and this could be where we see Not in Contenders thrive. They just won Oasis, which is the map that we are starting on against Oblivione. No, they didn't win against Sheer Cold.
Well,
they didn't win
now against
Sheer Cold, actually, when they played earlier today. That's an important story beat we should mention, Kenobi.
Yeah, so they played earlier today, and Not in Contenders got walloped, I would say, by Sheer Cold. And Sheer Cold has a very... It seems like they're the favorites to beat, right? Throughout this entire tournament so far, they've looked very good. I mean, this is a team that used to be Indignation, right? A team that has been at the top, I would say, of Tier 3, Tier 2 kind of European Overwatch for a very long time outside of, like,
they won the practice season, right?
They won the practice season. They won I believe they won a Breakable Barriers as well, if I'm not mistaken. So this team has been on the top and have a lot of talent that you're known, that you should know. A&J, Sucrack, Sycamore, Alex, and Shade. Tap is just the only one that's not here anymore. But as we're going into this first match, Paul, we do see dive from both of these teams. The only wrinkle here is that Sycamore locking the legs.
Yeah, locking the legs with a Mercy to pair with it. Get that damage boost on to Sycamore. He's going to be pretty hard to dive onto or pin down. But right now, it's just a fight for the high ground between the tanks, and Crocs is the one who finds himself going down first. Refid not going to be able to keep him up. Sucrax does get dove on and actually finish off by Eclipse, but there's that resurrection coming out from the Mercy, so still a heavy advantage for Sheer Cold as they look to claim this objective first.
And we're seeing, you know, a lot of these fights happening in these enclosed areas. Alex is able to get the kill onto Kreia, and this should realistically be Not in Contenders losing this fight to Sheer Cold. Sheer Cold going to take this point pretty easily at the start here after some elongated fights. Luckily enough for Not in Contenders, EMP is going to be very close here for Kagasi, and Sheer Cold looking pretty decent in the Ultimate Economy as well. Self-Destruct going to be available, Pulse Bomb as well, and Sucrack's going to have that nano a little bit faster than Eclipse will.
We're going around the long direction. Was possibly looking for a flank, but with Sucrax, Sycamore, and A&J all on that high ground, they are so difficult to dive. Kagasi is going to take the jump pad up. Does get the hack onto Sycamore, so no running away, but Biotic Field does go down, so him and Sucrax are more than healthy enough. Meanwhile, Backbone finds a pick, and Sycamore matches it. Now he's got that nano on him, not even going to have to throw out that tactical visor he has nearly worked his way up to. It seems that Not in Contenders just have to disengage.
Sheer Cold just have such a stranglehold right now on the point and on a lot of this control of this map so far. I mean, for Not in Contenders, they were trying to make that dive. They've even switched Crooks over to the Hammond instead of the Winston, and they're trying to just dive and put all of their resources into killing Sycamore, but he's being double-pocketed most of the time here, so it's very hard to get that kill unless there's something like a net or like a sleep or like an anti-nade from Eclipse to take him out.
Translocate up, EMP out, catches onto Sycamore and Sucrax. Self-destruct from Alex dissuades any kind of dive from coming forward, but despite that, Sycamore does go down, and Alex is hacked the moment he gets back into the mech with a res and an elimination, followed by that pulse bomb, tac visor, everything thrown out for Sheer Cold, but it means that they're going to be able to swiftly hold on to this objective. They only need 1 more fight to claim the round.
And I mean, they get the kill onto Sycamore there, but he's rezzed back up, and unfortunately for Kreia, he mistimes his pulse bomb, so he's not even able to kill the Resing Mercy, but he isn't able to kill Sycamore on the back end of the Resurrection as well, so just a little bit of a misplay coming out from non-contenders, and Sheer Cold just need this one fight win, and they're going to take this first round.
Kreia is looking for the 1v1 onto Backbone. Backbone in a heap of trouble, is able to get away and gets that peel though, so now he can re-engage onto the tanks of Not in Contenders. Self-destruct over on the side, but not placed where it could have caught really much of anything. Shade is in the back line. He is anti, so he's got to be a bit careful, but he's going to go forward and slap Eclipse, and that is going to be the first domino to fall. Now Shade's got that nano. He's just looking to clean up Refit, and the anti is going to ensure that he gets that kill. So we are going to have 100-0 here for the first round of Oasis.
Yeah, very convincing at the start here for Sheer Cold. It seems like non-contenders just not able to deal with specifically the DPS line of Sheer Cold. I mean, Sycamore, I don't believe he died once because he got that resurrection, but besides that, there was some pressure being put onto him, but the double pocket from the supports of Sheer Cold, very good at keeping him alive. So I wonder if they're going to continue to lock the legs here and keep on the soldier. Doesn't look like they're going to. They're going to move to more of a standard composition here. And is Not in Contenders going to stick to their dive? That's the other thing here, because we saw in the last series against Ex Oblivione, when they played dive into this composition that Sheer Cold is running, they had a really good time. So maybe they could do it the same here against Sheer Cold.
Certainly possible. Ex Oblivione, though, not quite as competent as Sheer Cold is, at least it seems at the beginning of this match and from yesterday when Sheer Cold did beat Ex Oblivione. The high ground rotation comes through for Sheer Cold, and right now they are content with just trying to cover Sycamore as he picks at the enemy team. Stun does not land onto Kreia, so now the dive can come in. Pin whiffs onto everything. Shade not able to lock anyone down, but Croc still takes too much damage and is eliminated by a nice placed headshot from Sycamore. Sycamore does pay for that with his life, as the healers not focused on keeping him alive, instead are prioritizing rather the tank line of Sheer Cold. They're now down onto this objective, but the rest of these kills need to start coming through. Icewall is going to separate the healing from Refid, but it's not enough to get that.
Oh, nice
beautiful anti coming in from Eclipse. That's exactly what we expect of him, but somebody's got to follow it up. Shade's so low, he's finally taken down, but he's traded onto Crocs. Now the nano comes forward from Kreia, and finally we get a cap.
And it really, it's off the back of Eclipse and that nano. Kreia gets that pulse bomb, is able to take out Sucrax, and this should be Non-Contenders winning this first point here. They already have the cap, and they're taking their percentage upwards, and really, again, Eclipse is going to need more of those in this matchup, because it seems like whenever Non-Contenders is doing their best, it's when Eclipse is hitting these huge anti-nades, these huge sleeps, and that's really where a lot of their value comes from. Kagasi close to that EMP, but for Sheer Cold, a lot of ultimates available for them.
The Earth Shatter most critically here, with no real tank, or barrier tank rather. Shade can throw this out pretty much whenever he wants. He whips it! Doesn't get onto Crocs, who just jumps over it now as the Primal Rage into the backline. The barrier going to keep everyone alive as ANJ sustains his team long enough so that they can re-engage. Blizzard also not finding anything there other than Moose. Self-destruct in the backline lands onto Eclipse. So Sheer Cold, they struggled at the beginning, and the ultimates not necessarily finding optimal value, but they find enough, and this rally is only going to delay the inevitable from Refit.
Just trying to stall as much as they can here is Non-Contenders and take up that percentage to about that 70% mark. And there, the EMP looked very good from Kagasi at the start, but really well played from ANJ to sidestep it and then use that sound barrier to keep his team alive. We haven't seen a lot of that since like Goats, where that was really an important thing when it was Somber Goats, and that's really what the Lucios were there for. Really well played from ANJ, kind of going back to that time.
Only the nano available now for Not in Contenders as they go for this entry. Can just throw it onto Crocs and try to eliminate Sucrax or ANJ. And that's exactly what's happening. Nice boop from ANJ, though, to at least stall that out. Sucrax
is still alive!
World of hurt, but he uses his bio grenade to keep himself alive. Now the rival's being invested. Sycamore gets chucked off of the edge, and another member is
Another blue.
Sucrax going over the side into the water too. Shade on the point is antied, and one of his healers is down anyway, so he wasn't going to get much healing regardless. Slowly but surely, Not in Contenders going to be reclaiming the objective.
Crooks comes up so clutch there with 2 huge boops, one onto Sycamore, who is using that Deadeye, and then one onto Sucrax, who was on that Ana, trying to keep his team alive, and he's able to win that fight for his team off of the back of those 2 boop kills. And now, Not in Contenders, they have their DPS ultimates available to them. Sheer cold, no sound barrier to deal with the EMP this time.
Kagasi just has to wait for the push that will come in. He spots out so many members. It's a death ball composition. Catches onto 4. Backbone gets eliminated before he can use that blizzard or anything to keep himself alive. Urchan lays down 3 though. This is still a chance for Sheer Cold to move on in. They clean up everyone who was caught in the shatter and extend this round. 99% for Not in Contenders, but it won't be 100 just yet.
That was such a good ultimate, though, as well from Kagasi at the start. They're able to take down Backbone, and they know that he has that Blizzard available, so they take him down. But then Shade comes back around with the Shatter. Like you mentioned before, Paul, no barrier tank on the other side, so it's a free Shatter for him. Knocks down 3, and they win the fight off of the back of that. And now it is Sheer Cold who has the advantage when it comes to these ultimates, and it comes to the control at this point.
And losing an EMP fight has to hurt here for Not in Contenders as they come into this entry. They're only going to have support ultimates. Again, that boop denying Crocs the entry onto the backline that he so desires. Sucrax going to be able to easily get away from that one, and the Blizzard locks down Moose onto the low ground. Pin.
He's still alive though.
Moose is demeched, but the rest of Sheer Cold having a lot of trouble. Crocs is going after Sucrax. He uses the fade early. Shatter on the objective. Shade is just trying to 1v3 right now. He does get slept, but his healers are able to keep him alive through that stun. Now the Coalescence is here. It's 99-99. A win in this fight means a win on the map. Crocs trying to disengage. Kagasi not going to be able to live long enough to get that EMP. And slowly but surely, Not in Contenders losing control, losing this map. And Sheer Cold gonna win that first map and get 2-0 already in this series because of the 1 map advantage they already had.
And Shade already showing the value that a Reinhardt can bring, especially when there isn't another Reinhardt on the other side. 2 clutch shatters throughout that entire round that really pulled his team's feet from the fire there. That last one that we saw was able to kill the supports, and the one before that was able to clutch it out for his team. As you see A and J here with the play of the game. Nice res. Barely dodged that pulse bomb. Oh, and then we get the Battle Mercy.
No
yeah.
Assisted Battle Mercy.
Hey, you know what? He brought it out.
I take it.
He brought it out. He brought it out. We take it.
He did. He whipped out that pistol there. And now it is going to be Sheer Cold already halfway to what they need to claim victory. Not in Contenders, though. They made him work for it, right? It wasn't particularly close on City Center, but Gardens was a tightly contested battle.
And I mean, as we know with Not in Contenders, like if there's anything like the last series, for instance, Not in Contenders didn't look great on their first control either, but they seem to upgrade their play throughout the series. So it's a little bit different here because you're not just down 1-0, you're down 2-0. So maybe that mountain is just a little bit higher to climb, but it is a best of 7 this time. So now you're not looking at match point, luckily enough for them, but there is some momentum that needs to be played here because you need to win this one if you're Not in Contenders, just straight up. Not just because it's going to be going to match point, because the momentum then for Sheer Cold is going to be so much bigger than it is currently in Not in Contenders. It might be a little bit deflating being down that 3-0.
Well, but based on the 6 maps we've seen Not in Contenders play so far this tournament on stream, I can't think of a better place for them to go to try and gain momentum in the series. When we saw them play against Ex Oblivione on King's Row, which will be the next map, they got a decisive full hold and a quick cap of point A to immediately turn the tide of the series and eventually win that one out. So, Sheer Cold, they were no doubt watching. They know what is coming here. The question is the skill gap so wide that they will be able to avoid the same kind of decimation on their offense?
Yeah, they completely slapped Ex Oblivione, did Not in Contenders when they defended first on that I believe it was on Kings Row, right? They
The
full
most
held them,
one-sided
and then
map in the series by far.
it was very one-sided. It didn't look like, I don't think anyone on Oblivion touched the point on that Kings Row on their offense. I think no one even got on it ever at all. So this is the map where I would think, like you mentioned, this is the map where I would definitely give a little bit of favor more so to Nine Contenders because of how well we've seen them play this map throughout. I think also their best composition by far is the composition where it's just kind of the meta composition against a meta composition, right? Even though on Control it didn't look that great, we've seen that Control for Nine Contenders, especially the first one, isn't really their best map type. So once we keep it going, once we get to the later maps in the series, then I think that's when Nine Contenders is going to be a force to be reckoned with. They take a little time to rev up.
Sure, but it is worth noting too that you mentioned how the more meta composition, the orthodox composition, is usually better for Nine Contenders. Dive had been kind of a coin flip for them, realistically speaking, throughout every time we've seen them play Dive. It was 50-50 on whether or not they won, and most of the times when they won with Dive, it was because the other team started not Dive and then went to mirror match them, and that was actually what happened there on Gardens too. You know, Sheer Cold came out on that conventional composition, lost the first fight, eventually went back and swapped, but Sheer Cold was able to make up that. Or no, actually, they didn't even swap, did they? They just stayed.
They continued to stay on their. The thing is, the difference is that with non-contenders, when they've been having that dive versus non-dive compositions, usually non-contenders is winning that very handedly and also farming their ultimates and able to rotate them effectively, which is what they did against Oblivion. There, Sheer Cold didn't opt in for the 1v1 and just stuck to their guns and said, at some point, our ultimates are going to get more value than theirs, and that is exactly what happened. Non-contenders not really getting the value out of EMP. Shatters from from Sheer Cold were basically free, and there was no barrier tank to deal with them. So I like that Sheer Cold, they stuck to their guns and they played what they were going to play, whereas non-contenders a lot of the time in their previous matchups have had teams react to them, and if they play their own game, you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. And you know, this can be, you know, we didn't get to see the upper bracket finals between Sheer Cold and Not Contenders, but, you know, once you've played so many maps, players of this caliber are going to adapt. They're at least going to make it closer. We are going to move on to Kings Row, but there's kind of a double-edged sword to this map, realistically speaking, because I think if you're Not Contenders and you don't win this map, not even make it more competitive, but straight up win this map, I don't know where you draw confidence from that you can win anything in this series.
Yeah, especially because this is, like we said, the best map that we've seen them play so far. Throughout the entirety of the time we've seen them, Kings Row has been their playground throughout the entirety of the Opus Division bracket that we've seen them so far. And for Sheer Cold to come in and, you know, if they get full health, if they lose, like you even mentioned, it's going to be really demoralizing for them. And then you're staring down the barrel of a 0-3 deficit and you're already on match point. You don't want to be in that position, but we're going to be seeing mirror compositions from both of these teams. Kagasi going to switch over towards that May, and actually we're going to be seeing an interesting wrinkle from the offense here for Nine Contenders. Kreia going to be on the Reaper, so offering a little bit more of a brawly style than what Sheer Cold has.
That's kind of what we learned to expect from them last time that they were on Kings Row, but the rotation is a bit more difficult this time. Alex is on the flank. Moose has to go up to contest him. Kreia going very deep with that teleport, and it's going to cost him his life, as now the rest of Not In Contenders just going to back up. They won't lose anyone else, but they will lose about 40 seconds in their time bank.
That was really well played, actually, from Alex. He saw the teleport from Kreia going to the high ground, so he boops him off the high ground straight into the waiting arms and flashbang of Sycamore, who blows Kreia up almost immediately. So really using those Diva boosters to their full value.
A straight point rotation this time around, and Kreia goes down again. The anti, the thing that actually denies him his life. Now Crocs is under just too much pressure. The focus fire from Sheer Cold is just too clean. One by one, they remove Not In Contenders.
Oh, and this stagger on the Moose is going to be pretty big here. Are they going to get the charge as well? They're waiting for him to wake up. There's the charge.
And it goes around the corner.
Oh, they aren't even going to... Oh, this is brutal. That's a brutal stagger from Contenders, and they're going to have to wait for Moose to get back in here. And as you can see, Kreia only has 30% towards that Death Blossom, Paul. Kreia hasn't been able to play the game. Just straight up. He's died first both of these fights so far.
Yeah, he's gotten blown up first, both of these fights, not just eliminated. Now the nano's gonna come down onto Crocs, and there is a blitz play. Shatter whiffs from Shade, but he does have a nano of his own to keep him alive, and the anti onto Crocs puts a lot of pressure on that main tank. He tries to pin on back, but he whiffs it onto Shade. The fire strike will finish him off. Non-contenders still posturing around this objective, but they just don't have the meat to pressure onto the point right now.
Non-contenders are going to have the respawn advantages, though, so they might be able to recontest with some numbers before this point is able to be defended by Sheer Cold. So they are going to posture themselves onto it here, but we are going to have a full 6v6 fight, Paul.
Crocs getting walled off. Anti landing onto Shade.
Oh, Tuden!
Oh, the Blizzard eaten by Moose yet again. Self-destruct going in, catches one. It's traded though onto Kreia. There's an Earth Shatter. It only gets Shade, and the defense matrix is going to keep him alive. Can't say the same for Crocs, as Moose was not in the right position. Now the Deadeye coming out from Sycamore will dissuade non-contenders as we hit 1 minute and 15 seconds. They've only got a tick to their name.
And we're getting to this worst case scenario that we talked about, Paul, for Contenders. They have 1 more minute to try and cap this point before they get full held. Ultimate's coming up available for them. Cray finally gonna get this Death Blossom soon, and Eclipse has the nano to match the one from Sucrex, but Shade has the advantage with the Shatter, and as we've seen so far, Shade with these Shatters can be clutch.
It's just too little and too late. The Earth Shatter not clutch whatsoever. The anti, though, just might be. Crocs taking too much pressure to even go in while he has the nano, and Eclipse just gets assassinated in the backline. Kagassi's gonna join him in the grave, and now the push comes in. Shay doesn't land the pin, but he hardly even needs to. As we hit 30 seconds, it is not looking good for NIC.
This is going to be the last chance for non-contenders here, and to be frank, Paul, no ultimates to work with whatsoever. You just have this ultimate Death Blossom from Kreia. It can be eaten by the Diva, and Backbone's going to have this Blizzard available to him way before Kagassi is, so this is going to be a difficult fight for non-contenders to even have a chance to take this.
Non-contenders staring down the barrel of a full hold on what we thought was their best map. Backbone just waiting for the DM to expire, and then he throws out that Blizzard. Moose couldn't hope to have eaten it. Backbone Shade, everyone comes alive. Sycamore gets a 3K though, and turns it around for Sheer Cold. The nano onto Kagassi.
The Blizzard
is going to give them a chance. Blizzard, Sucrex going to get
Sycamore,
in it, but not quite. He dodges it around the telephone booth, and that's the full hold gained. Sheer Cold looking indomitable.
This is not looking good at all for non-contenders. The map that we talked them up about being the best one that they could possibly play, they only cap 57.4% of that first point. Definitely what you don't want to see if you're a non-contenders fan right now. And if you're Sheer Cold, you are sitting pretty right now. You are in the driver's seat completely, and now the ball is in your court to take this to match point.
Non-contenders getting a bit of a taste of their own medicine
yeah,
from earlier in the day. And who knows, this might be the second time around they've been full.
What about the Fuller hold?
The Fuller hold?
The Fuller hold.
Technically a possibility. The real shining starlight of non-contenders earlier Kings Row was in fact their defense. So who knows? It might just be them being so strong on defense, and then they just muscled their way through a dejected Ex Oblivione. It's hard to really say, but regardless, earlier I said Ex Oblivione against non-contenders had a titan of a defense to hold if they wanted to win this map. It's not much better for non-contenders now. And worse, even worse for them if they lose. They're staring down the barrel of match point. Sheer Cold really just a hop, skip, and a jump away from claiming first place in the Open Division playoffs.
See here, Sheer Cold. They're going to be running the Widow and the Hanzo just to start trying to get a pick, see if they can not just win the fight by fiat already, and they can't. So Switching back to more standard composition now, and we see the Mei and the McCree. Blah. Tongue twister right there. We see the Mei and the McCree, the standard comp, and Correa here has to be very careful again. We saw him get pretty punished in those first couple of fights this last time on their offense. This time he can't die that quickly again.
Crocs walled off, stunned
Oh,
up. The
no.
defense matrix not going to save his life, and that
It's
is
over.
disastrous. Kagasi is slept. Moose trying to save his Mei. Sycamore will be eliminated, and Crocs, or Shade rather, not quite finding the value he was looking for. Non-contenders able to disengage and work their way back toward the objective, but it's still a slow push in, and there's not much that non-contenders can afford to give here, Kenobi.
Yeah, they can't give up this first tick as well. They need to keep hold of it, and there's a nice nade, but there's a nice anti-nade in return, and a shatter is huge!
Shatter is what spells their doom, but Shade overextends. Crocs actually able to stay alive, and he gets the fire strike. He may have been eliminated that first time around, but a 4-piece is what the main tank of non-contenders picks up this go around. And it's not even a tick gain for Sheer Cold.
That looked like such a disaster at the start when Crooks went so aggressive, but somehow, someway, non-contenders were able to hold, bring back Crooks, and Crooks goes absolutely buck wild on that Reinhardt. And there's a nice anti to start out from Eclipse. That means that Sheer Cold is going to have to back up. That's more time wasted off the clock.
Ice Wall keeps them all nice and healthy. Both Blizzards going to be up in this fight. As right now, non-contenders are kind of just living on a prayer. There is that nano coming out. The first Blizzard is from Backbone. Sound Barrier going to sustain non-contenders through it. Crocs will go down. Shade will likely join him in the grave, but the Sound Barrier going to keep him alive, and he comes out just in time to block that self-destruct. That being said, both the DPS gone for Sheer Cold, so they're just going to bide their time.
The Fuller Hold dream is still alive, Paul. Here for Not in Contenders. Crocs has this shatter available to him. We know that he can hit these big ones. Self-destruct available from Alex, as well as the Deadeye. Here comes the zone.
There's that Deadeye. It catches Kagasi over the top as he was boosted by his own Mei, while the Earth Shatter lays down to the pin.
Sucrax is dead.
Both Sycamore and Sucrax, but Crocs pays for that with his life. It's just the Diva and the supports. Refid going in very deep to try and stall this one out.
And I wonder if they're going to be able to get a contest here. Sheer Cold is playing this slow right now. They know that there is no one. There's no Reinhardt on this point just yet. There's the wall to section off some members, Paul. We're going to have a fight.
Crocs is back. Moose was able to stall this one out. Nano goes on to Shade. He's being
frozen,
but he's being frozen up, so he can't find the value he is looking for. Earth Shatter goes down. Crocs is eliminated by it, but Shade pays for that with his life. It's still an even 5v5. Eclipse goes down. Alex has got to be careful. He's trying to 1v1.
Oh, no.
And he manages to do it. It was a valiant attempt. But there's only so much you can do if you're not in Contenders. The Fuller Hold is just so difficult to pull off. Crocs can't even get back to the objective. And there it is. 3-0 lead for Sheer Cold, as they now are just one map away from first place in the EMEA Open Division playoffs.
It was so close for non-contenders. It looked like the Fuller Hold, and I guess I did slightly caster curse them a bit there, but it looked like it was able for them to hold all the way through. They were playing so well, rotating their ultimates really well as well, and unfortunately, they just weren't able to hold all the way, just too high of a mountain to climb for them. And now you're staring down the barrel, Paul, of match point 0-3. A gargantuan effort is going to have to be put in to come back from this. You're going to need a 4-map reverse sweep, and we don't see a lot of those.
And I think at this point, for not in Contenders, the reverse sweep is a mile away. You got to focus on the next step.
Mm-hmm.
The first place you got to put your foot is the next map.
Yep.
Sheer Cold looking to just keep the gap between them and everybody else in Open Division massive. They've only dropped one map thus far in all of playoffs. And keep in mind, Sheer Cold, it's not like these guys were first, second, or even third seed. They came in as 13th. They dropped, I believe, if off the top of my head I'm remembering correctly, 3 matches throughout the series of the regular season. But all that matters for placement, for Contenders trials, for seeding, is how you do in this postseason. And Sheer Cold, they're coming up with the goods.
I mean, it doesn't matter how you start, Paul. It's about how you finish. And Sheer Cold right now are about to, on the cusp of finishing 4-0 here in these grand finals. They look, it just, like you mentioned, there's kind of a gap. I mean, that was very close from not in contenders there at the end, but just it seems like Sheer Cold just at these clutch moments are able to just pull out these wins, either from Place, from Sycamore, antis from Sucrax, things like that. It just seems like they have these clutch moments in them all the time. And we're going to Rialto as our fourth map, well, third map technically.
Third map.
Rialto is going to be
third map, fourth potential point.
Fourth potential point is where we're going to be going to, and we see here Sheer Cold. I wonder if they're going to run the Pharaoh. Is that something that is?
We didn't see when we saw them play against Ex Oblivion. They didn't quite run the Pharaoh. They just locked down the conventional composition. They didn't really struggle with that. But something I want to just give more props to Sheer Cold right now, because something we haven't mentioned is that this isn't the second match between these two this season of Open Division. It's actually the third, technically speaking. In the very last round of the regular season, Sheer Cold and Not in Contenders played each other, but it was Not in Contenders who won that out in a 5-map set. So for Sheer Cold, if you can not only beat them 3-0, but then follow it up with 4-0, that is such a statement, such a beautiful revenge plot coming out right now.
That's
from
putting them
our
in their
team
place.
In blue.
That's putting them in their place right there is what that is. When you lose that one, you come back with your revenge matches, you 3-0, and then now you're very close to a 4-0 against this team. Sheer Cold sticking on the standard composition here that they've been running throughout this series so far, except for when we saw, a little bit of a wrinkle where we saw the soldier, locking the legs on control, but we're going to a more standard escort map, and that means we see more standard compositions here for Not in Contenders. I wonder if we're going to see anything change. We are seeing the hover of the double main tank right now. Kagassi's on Doom. I don't expect that to stick, but I mean, right now, you need something to change for Not in Contenders, because it is your last life right here.
Kagassi, it seems like...
Is he actually doing it to him? Is he doing it to him?
He's at least posturing by the spawn, seeing if he can find anything. Goes for the rotation over on the high ground. Got to be careful. ANJ loves to go for this boop around the bridge, but the timing isn't quite correct there, so he will just disengage. He's not going to go for it too ambitiously here.
Yeah. So we see here the Reaper Doom kind of going back to what we saw in Overwatch League Grand Finals, a little bit close to this composition, but here Kagassi's going in already, is frozen and is killed. That's just the life of a Doomfist player in this current meta, Paul. But Shade's down, and actually Sheer Cold not in the advantage right now.
Yeah, it's all on to Sycamore right now to see if he can get those picks, but it's so hard to do so through Crocs' barrier field. That being said, it's a mixed kill feed, so Not in Contenders, they are going to be able to get toward the objective, but Backbone is able to sustain so long. Kagassi gets stunned up, can't push Backbone into the wall, doesn't accomplish much of anything, and with that pick coming through, Not in Contenders are just going to have to opt to wait this out.
Yeah, I'm just not sure about this Doomfist, Paul. It just doesn't seem to be working. Every time he goes in, he's frozen, he's stunned, he just isn't getting the value. Backbone already has this Blizzard, so it's going to be very difficult for Not in Contenders to push into Sheer Cold here.
Even more difficult when the Deadeye is up. The draw comes through, doesn't land onto much of anything. Croc shows down the Earth Shatter in desperation, and Backbone will go down because of it, but it's not enough to save his life or the rest of Not in Contenders. Easy push forward for Sheer Cold.
I mean, if you're Not in Contenders there, you kind of take that a little bit, because you did force out a few ultimates. You forced out the Deadeye, you forced out the Nano, and the Mei ultimate as well. But now they're making swaps to just a more standard composition, but they've already wasted kind of 2 minutes just footsing around on this Doomfist that did absolutely nothing. Luckily, they're switching now, so that means they'll at least get one ultimate rotation left. But I'm still just questioning that Doomfist pick, Paul. It got no value whatsoever.
And luckily still for Backbone, he won't be at a deficit. The Nano comes down immediately onto
Oh, what a shatter.
A beautiful shatter from Shade. Pinned into the wall too. The Nano gonna keep him alive, and Alex is demexed. So some damage mitigation advantage in favor of Not in Contenders momentarily, but down, and Crocs is in a world of hurt. Gets finished off. Moose is the only one who can really contest in the front line, and he's just going to have to boost back towards his team. He'll get walled away and taken down as we approach 1 minute, 20 seconds.
This isn't looking good at all, Paul. This is looking like 9 Contenders just haven't got the chops to deal with Sheer Cold at the current moment. Kagasi not even 40% towards his Blizzard. I don't even know if he's going to get one by the time this match is already over. Luckily, there are some other ultimates coming online. Self-destruct and the Deadeye from the McCree as well that you can use to zone off. But for Sheer Cold, Blizzard is the advantage that they have. No defensive ultimates to deal with it for the side of 9 Contenders. And this is going to be one of the last fights we're going to get here, Paul.
Self-destruct. Early in, over the top. Shade is isolated, slept, antied, everything going down, but the Nano giving him the damage mitigation he needs to turn this around. Just gonna push forward, unafraid entirely. 30 seconds remain, and Sheer Cold look unstoppable.
Last fight territory here for 9 Contenders. They need to make something happen here, whether it's off the back of Crocs, who's going to have a shatter, or Kreia with the Deadeye. Kagasi needs to get this Blizzard to counteract the one from Sheer Cold, or they should be done and dusted.
One last chance to put a point on the board this series for Not in Contenders. Deadeye gets walled off.
Shatter!
Going to go over the top. Sycamore is taken down, but the Shatter sets it up perfectly.
Self-destruct.
Shade is eliminated. Moose is the only one found by the self-destruct. Crocs is in a world of hurt. He gets taken down, and now it's all up to the DPS. Kreia over on the side. Kagasi antied on the point and eliminated. So close, but so far away for Not in Contenders. The sound barrier gonna keep Refit alive for just a second. Eclipse trying to sustain his support duo, but there's the barrier to give Sheer Cold all of the sustain that they need. One by one, Not in Contenders go down, and yet another full hold here from Sheer Cold.
And for 9 Contenders, they have to pray again for a fuller hold. We saw in Kings Row, they had a pretty good defense, but they weren't able to hold all the way. Is this the moment where finally all of it comes together for 9 Contenders, or is Sheer Cold just going to run over them? Again, Paul, I don't know what the Doomfist was for, especially in this meta and after the amount of nerfs that they've kind of put him into the ground with. It just didn't end up working out, and Sheer Cold took advantage of that wholeheartedly.
I'm not against the attempt, though, Kenobi, because when nothing sticks at the wall, none of the darts you have are properly sharpened. Sometimes you just got to pick up whatever you can find, throw it, and pray you throw it with enough force to literally stick into the wall, right? Break through the drywall.
Sometimes you got to punch him into a wall, you know?
Yeah, I was going to say, unfortunately, although that's literally what Doomfist does, didn't quite work out that time around for Not in Contenders. And now, for the second map in a row, they need to pull off a fuller hold. One boon to their shoulder, one glimmer of hope, Kenobi, is the fact that they got it around that first corner, and that is one of the best places, if not the best, to hold on this map. So there's a tiny bit of leeway to work with.
If there was anywhere else you'd want to probably stop it, it's like that point right before the cap, but this is pretty good in terms as well. Sycamore gonna be showing us this Widow just at the start, see if he can get a pick. I don't believe he's going to be able to do so, so he's gonna switch back over to McCree. More standard composition. Actually, he's sticking on the Widow? No? Okay, there we go. McCree. So now, full mirror coming out from both of these teams, and 9 Contenders is playing very back here. They're not playing that close fight. They're going for that one fight. This is where we stand. This is going to be the end. If we lose here, we lose the series.
You can't afford to take a risky early fight. They know that this is their best opportunity. Actually, Wall up onto the high ground. They might go in for a blitz play. Early anti on to their own team. Buyout a grenade, giving them a lot of healing, but not going to deny any. ANJ is cut off the Wall, isolating the Lucio there. So speed not available for Sheer Cold as they push their way on forward. But no one's actually holding the corner right now. Moose will eventually go back to the payload, but while he's down on the low ground, he's not going to be able to eat stuns. That was a little dicey there for Crocs and Kagasi, but they got around that corner.
The wall.
The wall, a beautiful counter wall from Kagasi keeps Crocs alive and well on this high ground. Alex loses his mech to that Deadeye, and now the Nano is coming on to Crocs. Going forward, he gets walled off. This is devastation. He's antied. He can't hope to survive. A shatter low ground thrown in. eliminates Refid. Moose the only one on the objective, and this is looking like curtains for Not in Contenders.
That's going to be it for 9 Contenders. They're just going to try and stall the best they can. Kagasi, the lonely one on the point, but it doesn't matter. Your EMEA Open Division Season 4, I believe?
Season 1 of 2020.
Season 1, sorry. Season 1 of 2020.
Man, you were on a roll there. That was going to be the perfect throw out, but it will be...
We almost did it. That's why we let the play-by players do it.
It will be sheer cold in a dominant fashion, only dropping a single map throughout all of playoffs, and it's all off the backbone, if you will, of plays like this. Backbone, addition to this roster, the only person not from Indignation previously. I think he did a wonderful job, as did the rest of Sheer Cold. Kenobi, the grand finals curse of Open Division continues throughout every region.
Unfortunately, we didn't get the same type of, match that we did in the losers finals, but I mean, this just kind of shows how far and ahead Sheer Cold are to everyone else. There's just a huge gap right now. Indignation has continued, or Sheer Cold right now, as they're continued to be called, they've kept their throne, basically. There's no one who seemed to have been able to contest them, at least through this playoff so far. And going into trials, this is a team I would be very scared to meet up in.
Every single ex-Contenders team that got knocked into trials should be just counting their lucky stars that they don't have to go up against Sheer Cold in the first round.
Yep.
Sheer Cold going to be looking to blaze through trials, but that will be it for Open Division, everybody. I've been Possible. With me's been Kenobi. Our wonderful producer has been Cinzia, and thank you so much to Monkey Bubble and everyone here for giving us the opportunity to cast these passionate, amazing players in Tier 3. Trial starts this week. It won't be streamed, so keep your eye out for when actual EU Contenders is streamed. The next Open Division is just around the corner. I can't wait to come back and watch more playoffs. But for now, we'll see you on the ladder, and have a good night, everybody.